All right, guys, we gotta be smarter about what we bite on, okay? I want everyone to go outside. We're gonna run Red Rover on 3.
What about you, Tony?
I'm gonna run around in circles, flatten my arms, and make engine noises like this.
When it comes to playing, we kids are the pros.
We're eating right, too.
We fuel up.
To play 60!
Your school doesn't have a program? Be a leader. Start one.
Click today and join the movement.
Welcome to This Week with Sheriff Dave Phalen, a weekly program right here on LSN Television, and also a number of our radio stations throughout the Lancaster and Fairfield County area carry this program on radio. And to each of them, I appreciate it. And also the folks over here at Fairfield Christian Academy, the students that actually produce this program each and every week. To them, I appreciate them for a job well done. We've been on the radio for about 10 years and on the television for about 9 months, and do appreciate all the comments we get about the program. And if you ever have any questions about things going on within the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office or any question, you can certainly give me a call in the office at 740-652-7252, and we'd be glad to discuss anything that you may want to discuss. Back by popular demand, second week in a row, is Lt Alex Lape with the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office, and he is going to be taking over the supervision of the road division, and that encompasses about half of the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office. So a lot of responsibility, a lot of things going on. And for some of our listeners and viewers out there, what are some of the things that the patrol division or road division does?
Well, the first and primary thing in any law enforcement task is providing safety to the public. And so, we'll respond on emergency calls, those being, accidents, complaints that involve maybe some type of physical conflict where we need to respond at emergency levels. There are plenty of different reasons why we would be called to provide service to the residents of the county. Some of them are just general complaints. Others may be a little bit more serious at times.
Right, and I think a lot of times, as people see cars driving around the neighborhood, and the areas the deputies patrol are broken into sectors. Yes. And then we certainly have, a deputy every 24 hours that works at.
Yeah.
And so they're out there.
Yeah, usually, the shifts run in 8-hour increments, so if you would look out every 8 hours, you might see a new person drive by. So it's depending on what area of the county you live in, you may come into contact with 3 or 4 different officers at different times.
Now, as you take over command of that part of the sheriff's office, are there some things that you see that you want to prioritize, that you see as some kind of goals that you may have as the commander of that part of the sheriff's office?
I do. I want to look at a lot of different things. Initially, I want to get some ideas from the sergeants on the shifts on what their tasks are, what they're responsible to do, to make their shifts operate, see if maybe we can work out a priority of things for them to do, and also then together put a plan together on some training for the deputies. Training's probably one of the most important things that we can provide for our personnel. That's one of the most difficult things to also fund and to get. So we're going to try to get some creative ideas, put some training together, and hopefully try to spark a little bit more interest back into the profession of law enforcement for some folks.
Great. Now, you have been the Detective Bureau commander for how many years now?
2 years.
2 years.
Yes.
And that's probably given you a lot of valuable insight into how the Detective Bureau works with the road division, right?
Yeah, it's for years when I worked patrol or in the jail, I looked at the Detective Bureau as kind of I thought that maybe they knew things that they really didn't know.
Okay.
So it's an information sharing thing that has to go on between the two investigative bodies of the sheriff's office. The patrol division is an investigative body of its own. It just investigates a different level of crime for the most part. It's dealing with misdemeanor offenses, where the detective bureau usually handles all the felony offenses. But there's a point where the two need to mesh, and that's what I want to also work toward, getting a better line of communication set up to where there's a better flow of information back and forth.
You were in the Detective Bureau a couple of years. What's the biggest surprise or thing that you kind of wouldn't have thought when you became the Detective Bureau commander?
How much work's involved.
Okay.
On a daily basis, I spend probably the first 4 or 5 hours just reviewing incident reports from the prior day and trying to prioritize them and try to be able to assign those for investigation. With manpower at the level that it's at, it becomes that much more challenging.
And for our citizens out there, what are some things that you would tell them? Let's say, and unfortunately this happens all too often, most of our burglaries take place during the daylight hours when people aren't home. So typically someone will come home, maybe find their door broken into, maybe a window broken or something like that. What are some things that a citizen needs to know and to kind of take in mind or keep in mind?
Well, if somebody would happen to come home and discover that, they need to back out and get out of that environment and give it to a friend or neighbor, or go to the next house over and use their cell phone, call 911. We'll get officers there as soon as we can to go in and check and make sure there's still nobody inside of the house. Short of that, there's different things that they could do to make it, I don't want to say an easier task, but to make the identification of their property easier. That a lot of times is a big challenge for us, especially with regard to jewelry. If they can take the time to sit down and take their valuable jewelry out and photograph it,
okay,
at least. Because it has no serial numbers and there's no way to trace it. And we get a report that says, I lost a 1-carat diamond white gold ring. There's, it's really difficult to track that stuff down. A lot of times people will buy new things. I'm guilty of it myself, have been in the past. We'll buy a new television and will not record what the serial number is on that unit. Any kind of high dollar electronic stuff, we need to take, as sad as it sounds, we need to take the time to record the model number and serial number of that piece of property. It makes it so much easier for us to track it.
And what is the most common type of offense that our detectives investigate?
It's probably going to be a theft, some type of theft offense, whether it's a burglary or a theft of property. Theft seems to be the number one thing that we deal with. We see a lot of high dollar items that are stolen out of vehicles. Mm-hmm. As crazy as it sounds, people still leave their purses in their vehicles with their credit cards, their checks, their iPods, their laptops. All that stuff is easy target for a criminal that wants to make a fast theft.
And have we seen a lot of identity theft within Fairfield County? Because on a national level, you hear more and more about identity theft, certainly in the last 5 years.
There have been some cases of it, and a lot of times it's involving the internet. And unfortunately, when there's a identity theft that occurs over the internet, it makes it almost impossible for us to do a follow-up investigation on that. Normally, if it's an internet theft, we refer people to the Federal Trade Commission or to file a complaint with IC3, which is an internet fraud. They'll investigate it.
And I think it's the same thing where and I don't think there's probably a couple of months that goes by that I don't get a call from someone who said someone called trying to get some personal information. And sadly, some people respond where they send money back to people because they say they won, they're supposed to pay so much for the processing fee or taxes. And those become very difficult to investigate because you may be talking to someone in Pakistan.
Right. And here recently we've seen an uptick in what's referred to as a Nigerian scam. And that's where they'll send a cashier's check, you have a person cash it for them, and the check's usually no good. cash this check for me and you can keep $1,000 out of it. If, you know, and it goes back to the old saying, you know, if it's too good to be true, and it probably is, and that's definitely the caveat when dealing with these kind of things, when people approach you with any free money. I don't think there's any such thing.
And sadly, a lot of times they use a legitimate source, whether it's be a local newspaper or thing, to kind of draw people in, to add some legitimacy to it. I know a couple of years ago, our youngest daughter, who is a school teacher, she saw an ad in the newspaper, and it said that they were looking for a tutor to help with a student coming in from another country. And so she had a conversation, and they said, well, we're going to go ahead and send you some money up front, and but some of it we want you to send on to another party, because that's going to be part of the babysitting situation for this child. And so she was all excited, and they were going to pay her. And I said, first of all, do not cash this check, because you will be liable for it. You'll be liable for it.
Right. And that's unfortunately what happens with those. That's a pretty sophisticated scam there. Usually you don't see them that sophisticated. And the thing that you need to remember and hold true is if somebody's giving you money and asking you to keep part of it and send part of it somewhere else, it's 9 times out of 10, or 10 times out of 10 usually a scam. Yeah. You know, there's no free money unless you're playing the lottery.
Yeah. And you don't do very well at that.
Right. You might get some free money that way, but you know, usually strangers aren't going to contact you and give you free money.
Lt Alex Lape, I'm going to have you back here in the future to kind of give us once you start your assignment within the road division, to kind of come back, let us know what's going on, and some things that you've done or implemented, programs or whatever. And we look forward to that.
All right.
Again, congratulations.
Sir.
Promoted to lieutenant here recently, and one of the outstanding members of the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office. And I've been the sheriff for 12 years now, and actually I promoted 2 lieutenants. The first lieutenants I promoted since I become sheriff. So it certainly is an honor, and I've gotten to know a lot of wonderful people within these past 12 years within the Sheriff's Office. Well, the clock on the wall says we're about out of time. I do appreciate you, the viewers and listeners, and again, the folks here at Fairfield Christian Academy that make this program possible each and every week. Until next week, same time, same place, God bless, and we'll see you right here next week.
Severe weather can destroy a home in seconds. There's no time to think, only time to act. Have a kit so you're ready for any emergency. Develop a plan for what you and your family will do before disaster strikes, and stay informed during severe weather any way you can. It can be the difference between losing your possessions and losing your life. Just ask the owners of this house. Visit ready.gov for ways to prepare your family for emergencies.